Job was to leave the game better than I came into it. You think Cheryl Miller is resentful for me that I had a league to play in? No, she's being the mentor that she is, and she's supporting and loving and sitting courtside cheering on Juju Watkins. And I'm doing the same for Caitlin Clark and all the women in the WNBA.
Candace Parker, one of the best basketball players in history and a three-time NBA champion, the iconic player, just gave what may have been the most damning critique of WNBA Commissioner.
When we look at the WNBA, whether we've speculated about resentment or whatever it is, ultimately it comes down to the fact that there were an abundance of women in the WNBA doing tremendous, tremendous work on behalf of the WNBA and the game of basketball, and you just sense that folks were feeling an absence of appreciation for what they had done and what their collective contribution was to bring the WNBA to where it is now and where it evidently is going. Can you speak to that collective frustration that some may have been feeling, and whether or not you think it's something that's being overcome as you all thrive and move forward and continue to promote and uplift this league?
Stephen A. Smith on ESPN's First Take, one of the most reputable voices in sports media, interviewed Candace Parker. He asked the question that the entire WNBA community has been eager to hear answered. What is the alleged bitter story surrounding Caitlin Clark and our veteran players feeling underappreciated in this new era of women's basketball?
Has grown so much, and it's just been amazing to watch. When you put it on television, the numbers don't lie, and visibility matters. Being able to have slots on ABC and ESPN. I know a couple years ago was the first time that the NCAA tournament was put on ABC, and we saw what the viewership looked like. So just looking at the growth of the league, the style of play, now there's being expansion teams and all that stuff. So as a fan, as a lover of the WNBA, I'm excited where it's at.
Now, this is where it truly gets lovely. As Cathy Engelbert has been stumbling around making crude remarks and ostensibly trying to minimize Caitlin Clark's amazing influence on the league, Candace Parker stepped up and demonstrated to everyone what true leadership looks like.
I'm like, Candace Parker, look, you shouldn't feel that way. The same way she brought up the idea of Cheryl Miller supporting her, that's how everybody should be. But it's more so of they want to paint the narrative that it's a white and black thing going on. And now that toxic energy is spilling over to people who don't even watch the games. So now they feel like they are a part of the league just because they know or feel like they know what's going on with the race thing. Like, cut it out, man.
I find it absurd that I'm frequently asked if I'm resentful in any way about where the WNBA is at the moment. Parker responded with such wisdom and clarity that you wonder why she isn't running the entire league. My job was to leave the game better than I entered it. You think that Cheryl Miller is resentful for me because I had a league to play in and she's being the mentor that she is supporting and loving. And I'm doing the same for Caitlin Clark and all the women in the WNBA. Did you hear that? That's the sound of a true leader speaking. That's someone who genuinely understands what the WNBA is about, what it stands for, what it needs to continue growing, and what it is. It's the exact opposite of what Cathy Engelbert has been saying.
And when questioned about the racism and sexism some of the players in the W were facing, she compared it to the Magic Johnson-Larry Bird rivalry as no big deal. Actually something that the league wanted to see.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe. Let's take a moment to discuss Cathy Engelbert, who has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. You may recall her when she said, when asked about the Clark phenomenon, Engelbert couldn't even give the generational talent her proper due without immediately deflecting to other rookies. No league's ever about one player before adding the most toned F part that player could get hurt or whatever. Are you kidding me? The commissioner, who is supposed to be leading women's basketball into the future, is going to protect and promote the league's biggest stars. This is the kind of leadership that has fans scratching their heads, but it gets worse when asked directly about the racist and toxic behavior directed toward players like Caitlin Clark. Instead of taking a strong stance against racism and harassment, she gave some evasive response about rivalry being good for the league. The NBA Players Association had to publicly call her out for failing to address the racism, misogyny, and harassment experienced by the players.
Now everybody has a Twitter finger. Everybody can have reach to, the WNBA and make comments. But really the key is let's keep it about basketball. That's my thing. And when we do that, then we're able to really grow the game and what it represents. There are some talented players that have been in this league. But now, because of visibility, listen, I still know the Dominique Wilkins. I still know, all of those players, the Dr. J's and all that stuff. I don't think they're not salty that MJ came along and grew the game. I mean, that's what it is. And so I think that the WNBA as a whole is in an amazing place. Now it's about business to me. It's about taking care of business and making sure. I would like to see, and I'll say this in the CBA, I would like to see more roster spots because we can't have 11 or 12 women on a team. You got to lean into the player growth and player development.
Now compare that catastrophe with Candace Parker's approach to mentoring and leadership. When Stephen A. Smith questioned her about the general annoyances that some seasoned players could be experiencing, Parker didn't skirt the subject or offer an explanation. Instead, she came right to the point. "Let's keep it about basketball," Parker stated bluntly. "That's my thing." Cutting through the commotion, I believe the NBA as a whole is at a fantastic spot because when we do that, we can truly develop the game and what it symbolizes. While Engelberg is out there making strange remarks about injuries and ignoring important issues like racism, Parker is concentrating on what really matters, the game itself and supporting the players who make it amazing. 5 words: let's keep it about basketball. That's the entire philosophy that could save the NBA from the leadership crisis it's currently going through. Parker went on, "The most crucial thing, in my opinion, is that this person recognizes that you can have thrilling drama and gripping plot lines without allowing things to spiral into the toxic mess that Angelbert seems happy to ignore or awkwardly navigate. I also think that rivalry and conversation are really important, but I want to keep them within the parameters of the game."
Merchandise sales were also up 450% for the WNBA, according to Fanatics, and Clark was the top-selling player and is 5th among athletes across all sports. Fanatics also reported a 100% increase in sales for WNBA-specific merchandise. It started with Caitlin Clark. And so now that we know all of this, and we've known that for months, now we get to turn around and look and see what exactly is it that the league will do knowing that she's out for the next 2 weeks.
And this is what makes the entire situation much more potent. Stephen Smith, who has been one of Caitlin Clark's most vocal supporters since she joined the league, recognized what he was hearing from Parker right away, as evidenced by his reaction during their conversation. Stephen has been emphasizing for months how crucial Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA's development and success, and he has watched as Angelbert falter through interview after interview, failing to appropriately acknowledge Clark's incredible impact. When he sits across from Candace Parker and hears her speak with such clarity and wisdom about supporting the next generation, You know that he is thinking the same thing that every WNBA fan is thinking. Why isn't this woman running the league?
Happening. Tell us what happened. Tell us when it happened. Tell us the measures that you plan to put in place to stop this from happening. Put a name on it, Kathy. You come out and talk to the league. You come out and talk to the media. You come out and talk to the fans about what's going on.
Speaking of fans, let's discuss how social media erupted in response to Parker's remarks, with many applauding her strategy and drawing comparisons to Albert's repeated errors. Fans have been dissatisfied with Angelbert's leadership for months now after Parker's first take appearance. They have seen her minimize Caitlin Clark's impact, make clumsy responses to serious issues, and generally appear out of touch with what the league actually needs. In contrast, they have seen someone like Candace Parker, who retired just before Clark's rookie season, embrace and support the new generation with grace and wisdom. On the one hand, you have a commissioner who seems more interested in giving credit than acknowledging the transformative impact of generational talents. On the other hand, you have a three-time champion who knows that uplifting the next generation only strengthens the league as a whole.
Turned her Twitter private. She hasn't proven or provided evidence that she was at the game yesterday. People who barely watch basketball or grift for engagement picked up on it and it blew up. There's yet to be any video evidence.
What Candace Parker knows that Kathy Engelbert doesn't seem to realize is that Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent who has revolutionized the appeal and prominence of women's basketball. She is more than simply another talented player. She understands the weight of expectation and the responsibility that comes with being a face of the league, because she was once that transformational player herself. When Parker joined the league in 2008, she became the first player to win both Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. For this reason, she speaks about Caitlin Clark with the respect and understanding that only comes from having been in her position. My job was to leave the game better than I entered it, Parker stated, and that sums up everything you need to know about how her leadership philosophy differs from Engelbert's strategy. According to Parker, her job is to uplift the next generation rather than vie with them for recognition or attention.
Charter flights. Yeah, the day I retired, I said, this
Literally.
bullshit. This has got to be on some bullshit. Yeah. They said chartered flight. Like, literally, I pressed send on the little retirement post, shed a little tear, and then Kathy Engelbert want to come out and be like, chartered flights for the whole league. I said,
Yeah.
but great. I'm happy for y'all. I am. I'm happy. No, but it shows, and that's the thing is like the player experience
means something.
It means so much, because when you are taken care of and all you have to think of is this, and it's just easier, you play better because that's all you have to think of.
And let's not forget about the charter flight situation that perfectly encapsulates the difference between these two women's approaches to leadership. According to Parker, the announcement of the WNBA's $50 million commitment to chartered flights came literally the day she announced her retirement. Parker puts out her retirement post, sheds a little tear, and then Kathy Engelbert wants to take the spotlight by saying chartered flights for the whole league. Now, some might say this was just unfortunate timing, but Parker's frustration highlights a bigger issue with Angelbert's leadership, the appearance of being out of touch with the players who built the foundation of the league. Here's a player who sacrificed her body for 16 years, winning championships and elevating the profile of women's basketball. And the league announces a major improvement to player conditions literally as she's walking away, whether it was intentional or not. It sends a message about priorities and timing that reflects poorly on league leadership.
Rivalry is super important. I think conversation is super important. You know, I tuned in when Kevin Durant went back and played Russell Westbrook and they bumped shoulders and everybody was tuned in. But I want to keep it within the lines of the game. And I think that's what's the most important.
When you watch Candace Parker discuss the NBA, you see someone who recognizes the fine line that must be drawn between paying tribute to the players who laid the groundwork and welcoming the up-and-coming talent that is advancing the league to new heights. She sees Caitlin Clark's success as a testament to her legacy, not a threat to it. I watched when Kevin Durant returned to play Russell Westbrook and they bumped shoulders, and everyone was watching, Parker said, demonstrating her understanding of how rivalries and gripping plots draw viewers. But she also brings it back to the important things. This is leadership. She knows that you can have drama, excitement, and captivating narratives without allowing things to spiral into the toxic abyss that social media can become. Engelberg has repeatedly failed to strike this balance, either by ignoring important issues or by making toned-out remarks that make situations worse.
To all the fans, the WNBA fans, the black women, get used to everyone talking about Caitlin Clark until she retires. And then after she retires, she's still going to be talked about. Because, we never seen nothing like her. So get used to it. You can keep bringing up the fans. You can keep bringing up pathetic stuff. You can keep bringing up non-irrelevant stuff that nobody cares about. Y'all can keep bringing that because y'all going to keep bringing up color, race. If this was any other sport, I'm telling you now, they would not care. I don't care if you blue, purple, orange, yellow. They don't care. They're going to talk about you. But get used to everyone talking about Caitlin Clark until she retires.
And let's be absolutely clear about what we're seeing here. When a retired player shows superior leadership, communication, and comprehension of the league's needs compared to the current commissioner, that presents a challenge. And when fans publicly demand that the retired player assume the commissioner's position, that is a crisis. Kathy Angelbert's term has been characterized by lost chances, inadequate communication, and an apparent incapacity to completely embrace and safeguard the league's top players. In the meantime, Candace Parker has shown what true WNBA leadership looks like. She has displayed the kind of moral compass and vision clarity that the league sorely needs at this time. She has had numerous opportunities to exhibit strong leadership, especially when it comes to issues of racism and player safety, but she has consistently fallen short. The NBA is at a turning point in its history. It has never been more well-known, more popular, or had more room to grow. But that expansion calls for leadership that knows how to preserve and develop future generations of talent like Caitlin Clark, while paying tribute to the players who laid the groundwork.